Today is Thursday, January 25th, 2018. It's MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. That's Dan Tom. He's MMA Junkie's fight analyst. That's Danny Otto back in New York. I didn't even see George coming. Just all of a sudden a piece of paper flew right in front of me.
Look at a ninja.
Like a ninja.
Hey, I like that hoodie.
Like
I've been rocking that lately.
He's like Bart Simpson handing out flyers. Or what are they? What were they?
They were menus to a Chinese food restaurant.
I want to say they were Thai.
They might have been Thai. I can't remember.
It was something.
Hey, I get like 90% credit.
Yeah.
I'm fine with 90%.
I'm fine with 90%.
You got to give me 90% for flyer versus menu.
Yeah, I think we all win.
All right, so we just meet halfway. Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. That's how easily everyone can be distracted. Yeah, but that's George, so in case people were wondering, they go, who's that guy who just threw in that menu/flyer? That is George.
Not Bart Simpson.
Not Bart Simpson. George Enrique Jr. has started following me. You should follow him at George45 on Instagram. I don't know, it just popped up on my phone. Oh, maybe.
Can I say what just happened, guys? So I think you're talking to George right now, but I'm going to say what just happened. So we've had connection issues the last couple days, and so all the IT people here are trying to figure out exactly what went wrong, and they don't know what went wrong. So Go's got a call a couple minutes ago from one of the IT people over at Sirius, and I had just stepped out for a second. I come back in, and Go said, we have to call this number because he needs to ask us what basically happened. And so he just wanted to hear it firsthand from us. And he gives me a number. So I go to dial in the number so I can screen it and put it over the board so that all of us can talk at the same time. And I have the phones ringing and ringing and ringing. And I'm like, this is a long time for, like, this guy just hung up with Goes and knows that we're just about to call him back. He just
hung up.
And so finally somebody answers and goes, Senator Heller's office. And I didn't know what to do. I felt like a 5-year-old pretending playing on the phone, so I hung up immediately. And I went, I think you gave me the wrong number. Goes, no, that's the right number. And I went,
it's the last number I got. I don't know.
Unless we just got a call from a senator, then it was not the right number.
Yeah, I don't know why I gave you that number. Where could that have popped up? Oh, it's the last voicemail I got.
So you have a voicemail from a senator, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is he like the senator of Las Vegas or something?
I don't know. Do you know who that is, George? Senator Heller?
That sounds
familiar.
familiar.
The senator of Nevada? I don't believe so.
Coming up in a minute.
Let's find out.
Isn't Harry Reid one of them?
Probably wants to know how
Danny
I want
and
him to
government
vote
officials
on North Korea.
What?
Is he the general for Las Vegas?
Senator Dean Heller. Probably this guy, right?
Coming up at 30.
We got him.
Luckily, I just got his secretary. It wasn't like I actually got him or anything and hung up.
Should I tweet him? Hey, fool, what do you want? Official account for Nevada, U.S. Senator.
All right. So he probably called you probably some.
Now, Danny, what would you have done if that lady said, thank you for calling back so quickly? The senator says $200,000 and you don't go to the press about the sexual allegations.
Yeah.
Give me your PayPal now.
All right. Hold on. Just starting.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host, back east handling all the producing duties, Danny Otto. To my left, it's Dan Tom, the fight analyst. What's up, guys?
What up?
Not a mucho.
Morning.
What happened there? Your watch was falling off?
I took it off.
That's why you're going like
I
this?
had some vigorous typing that I was doing earlier, so I took the watch off for comfort purposes.
What is it, a
and
Casio?
Speed. It's a movement watch.
Movement watch? What's that?
It's an affordable watch for...
That's the one that counts
Sounds
your
like
steps?
No. It's this group of dudes who decided to make affordable watches.
I think I heard of them.
Taking out the middlemen, doing it online. So I got a couple of
Decided
theirs.
to support, huh?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not in the McGregor Rolex bracket, let's just say. So this one suits me just fine, though. So
How long have you had that?
about a year, actually. Probably overdue for getting another one. I wear it a lot.
Slick.
I got
like
I got a
You
more
get a new
sporty
watch
black
every
one.
year?
Huh? Well, no, this one though, I'm wearing down the leather though. Like I've been wearing it a lot. That's why I took it off early. When I'm doing like typing, I'm trying to preserve
and then
it
on
more.
the left
you know?
hand, what do you have?
Hair tie.
Oh, okay. You don't do the man bun anymore, do you?
No, I don't. But sometimes if I'm working and stuff, I'll put it up because it falls in front of my hair. Or I have this really thick Asian straight hair that doesn't want to do anything. So sometimes what I'll do, a little cheat. Again, I don't like to use a lot of product in my hair either, so it's a tough balance. Sometimes I'll just tie it up a little bit if I'm home. You know, not going to be in front of public. I'll take it off, and it's got a nice little volume to it without having to bust out curling irons and product.
That
and,
looks tight though.
And I think it's just more me gaining weight and being bloated, probably.
Oh, is it?
Dan Tom's on the witness
Yeah, I
stand
know.
right now.
You can't be asked about
Well,
my
you
shirt.
know,
I'm a representing junkie.
For the first 2-3 months, I wasn't here, and Dan used to come in, do the show. Hey, this is who I think's gonna win. Bet on this guy. I'm out of here. Now he's a part of the show, but even when I've come back, I guess we've just been so busy with other stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know about Dan Tom.
You want to dive into what is this?
Well, we started here, and then I noticed the other wrist, and then I thought that might be his reminder for something.
What I divulged on yesterday's show, was it enough?
I always wanted to know why he had.
What was it called? The Velvet Porpoise or something like that?
I don't know. I think you're talking about the beach porta potty, which is what I felt like.
No. What was the other thing called? The Portugal Portuguese
Portuguese man of war.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to know why he had one sleeve and not the other. And did I tell you what my theory was?
He just hasn't finished the other hand?
No.
Or arm?
Well, that'd be a silly theory, wouldn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
My theory is that
You're that into the tattoo world? You
Well-
have these theories?
what I'm thinking, well, because it's only one arm, right? So what I'm thinking is perhaps he hadn't told people in his family. So what he does is like when he knows that a family member is going to see a photo, he'll go like this in a photo with the one arm that's clean, and they're like,
Gotcha.
"That's old Dan Tom. That's my grandson or whatever." And then when he knows it's going to go somewhere edgy, he turns around and uses the other arm.
I like that theory, but George was actually right.
You just haven't gotten
You just
around to
haven't
it.
done the other
Although
one?
there is a picture of me somewhere, I can't find it, but like I started with the left arm. I started by getting my inside of my arm done, and I remember having my buddy Danny, take a picture of my arm, and there's me holding a picture of my naked arm. I'm like, I want to remember what this looks like before it got messed up.
How long ago was that?
That was probably 2003, 15 years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
Yeah. I just, you hit little. I've noticed when you get older, life kind of gives you more reminders of your age. I'm starting to figure out, and one of them was that some of my tattoos are old enough to have their own driver's permit, which was kind of a new thing for me. I was like, wow, time goes by fast.
If that arm was tattooless, would you go do the sleeve now, or are you not as into it now? As
Actually, I've been really tempted to get a lot of work done lately. Funny you mentioned that. It was what you said. You were right. You were the winner as far as like I have this arm planned out, even what I wanted to do, and there's an opposing theme of this one. So now I just have
Been
an
15 years
off balance theme. I know.
You've been busy.
I've been busy. It's
Yeah.
good. And credit to any caller who knows what we're talking about there. But I blame martial arts and extreme couture. You know, I fell back in love with the martial arts I was in childhood and fell back in love with it around this time when I was touring around and getting tattooed and singing in a band, and fell back in love with martial arts, and was poor as well. And I was like, well, I don't want to spend time off the mat. I don't want to spend money that I probably could use for food. So let's just keep rolling.
How much would it cost to do all that to that arm?
I estimated this to be about $1,500, which is pretty cheap.
wow.
You're gonna average any sleeve. You're probably gonna average about around two grand, because your average per hour. And you tattoo artists, some go up, some go down, but it averages 100 per hour. Now that could have changed since, again, my tattoos are old enough to have driver's permits, but that's
about a 15-hour project right there.
My guy was lucky enough. He hooked me up. He was actually one of Vinny Magalhaes' students, and did a 15-hour.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. What is our record on Junkie Karma?
Ooh, I'd have to look it up, but
give me a rough.
It's a little bit over 80%. So I think rough 56-14 was one I remember for sure.
Our buddy that you wanted to get on today is going to come on Friday instead to get Karma.
He can't. He fights on February 3rd. What buddy?
The one that went to the base with us.
Somebody fights on Friday?
This guy?
February 3rd falls in the middle of the week.
Oh, duh. Yeah, that fight card. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking UFC and our guest today. Our guest today, by the way,
I was thinking about how much time was just lost. I'm like, am I really that dumb?
No, our guest today is Joe Soto, and he's traveling to Brazil. And somehow I thought it just tied into that, February 3rd, and I got locked in on UFC. But yes, there is a fight card on Friday. We talked about it yesterday, and so he wants the Karma. Cool. We're locked in.
Junkie Karma, baby.
Nice. And sorry to interrupt. So 15
no.
hours will get that arm done?
It was probably like roughly 15 hours too. Yeah, it was $1,500, but it was probably probably roughly around 15 hours too. Now that you mention it.
And how often do you have to separate the sessions? Because I know there's pain involved, right? And
not bumping my chest, but I was actually a pretty good sit. But the longest even I could go was probably about 4 hours, depending what you're doing. If it's a shading, that was an outline, so I could sit. Whereas shading, even if you're a good sit, depending on how heavily it's being shaded. They don't want to overwork the area, and everybody swells, but a certain amount of work, especially shading and coloring, will make you swell more. So you're going to cut down on your times there. So
all right, and one more thing, and then we'll end Tom discussion for today.
Fresh
that mustache, what is that?
I don't know what it is. It's been
like,
growing.
Will that grow any
14.
more, or do you exactly time it so that's just a little bit?
All right, can I say something before you answer?
Yeah.
This morning, you just happened to talk about something, but I was in the process of telling him, hey, your mustache is actually thicker now.
You know, it's funny you said that.
It has gotten thicker.
Like, if I shaved that off, or you did, right?
All right.
How long would it take you to get back to that? Like a day, or is that like years of work and it's not going to get any further?
15 years.
Here's the trick question, because my answer kind of answers both those questions that you just asked. You kind of asked two there. And since we are being so personal, I mean, hell, I talked about being peed on yesterday. What else? I guess the door's open for everything, Junkie Nation. But I actually, you know what? You can actually tell by how well I'm doing in the anxiety department and how well this mustache is doing, if you must know. In fact, I could actually, for being half Asian, which probably
great skin,
which is what I blame for.
Really young. Like,
well, yeah. Well, being half Asian, it kind of messes with the facial hair. I don't grow the full beard. You know what I'm saying? But I actually do represent quite well in the Spaniard department, right under the lip here, right under the mustache there. But I'm bad about certain things like clipping my nails or trimming sometimes, and I'm really letting you guys in on my personal psyche here, George.
Let's go back to the mustache, though.
Yeah.
If we shave that off, will that grow in a day or in a week, or is that like years worth of work? It just ain't gonna get any thicker than that.
This will probably be like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really?
That's it. Yeah.
So you kind of like it
again.
You kind of like it
my
right
first
there,
answer.
right?
I'm telling you I'm pretty bad with that. I'll be like,
you like having a little bit of a mustache.
Huh?
You like having a little bit of a mustache.
I like having much more. When I'm actually I keep promising myself that I'm actually going to give my facial hair a grow. I always pick on myself for not being able to grow facial hair, which is probably why I'm so okay with talking about such a random inquisitive question. But but honestly, I actually I've been telling myself, you know what? You're 32 years old now. You're gonna be 33. Let's see how far you can go. I mean, it's kind of like.
When's the last time you shaved completely?
I can't remember. I hate the feeling of it.
Really?
Yeah, I hate it.
You always like having a little bit of a mustache.
I just like having something there. A lot of it, you know what actually happened? What turned me around again? Back to the grappling. But part of me says, like, you know what? I want to cut down all my percentages as far as catching any weird staph or this or that. And I remember when before I had my last job, I had my interview for it, and I remember catching a staph infection right below my eye, a small little ringworm actually. So it was a little ring right around like where Jessica Rose Clark had her tattoo, except I just had ringworm. And it was the most embarrassing thing ever. Luckily, I got the job, but it was just the most worst timing, worst place, right? And you just don't want to deal with that stuff because it's bad for you, and especially if you spend a lot of time on the mat, like I used to. So I figure, you know what? If I can grow a little bit of facial hair, I put my face gets grinded on the mat from getting beat up most of the time, to be honest. So any protection I can have, I would do. Same thing with lotion, Actually, I remember I used to get into it with the late Robert Follis. He would give me shit because he would get.
There's a service for him, by the way, on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. I saw that, and he would get upset because he'd be like, "Well, you put lotion on." And he's like, "Oh, you're trying to get out of leg locks." And I'm like, honestly, no. Like that is not my game plan. I have ashy skin. I'm from Hawaii. My skin doesn't like it here, and also, even like I heard this from dermatologists and doctors even, and who are familiar or roll themselves. The lotion actually provides an extra level of protection, so those diseases like the MRSAs, the staphs, actually it minimizes it. So whether I'm wearing rash guards, putting on lotion, or growing my facial, everything was designed. A lot of these habits I instilled were designed from being on the mats.
We're balls deep. Can I just ask one more question?
Jesus Christ. All right.
The middle part, do you shave it or does it just call in sick?
That's the opposite Hitler, right?
The middle part, I have to, you know what, I would.
Bizarro Hitler.
I would have I have the opposite of a Hitler because I'm part Chinese, so I have the Fu Man. I have the Fu Manchu, so if I grow it, it'll actually grow really uneven. It'll grow thick on the side, so I actually have to give the middle, the Hitler part. I have to give the Hitler a head start, if you will.
Gotcha.
To even it
out.
I
want to see him completely shaven, and then
fuck that. No.
From there, just see. Dan, you're not that far away. Like I think I could give you tweezers, and you're completely shaven in about 3 minutes. And then to see what grows in.
My face looks extra wide and shiny, though.
With that. I've never known him with anything else. Have you?
I've already got this big head.
I've seen a bun in the back, I think.
You have a big head?
Huh? Oh,
I need to figure out what big heads are then, because you say you have a big head, and he says I don't. You guys have normal heads to me.
Dude, no way.
Tito Ortiz has a big head.
If I was Stipe size, I would look like the Stipe proportion. If you saw me in Stipe size, like that. That's how my head is. Just
So is my head big?
Dude, I couldn't fit.
Yes.
My head's big.
Dude, I couldn't even fit coming out of my mom. They had the C-section.
You had no clue of that?
No, I didn't know I had a big nose either. Until like
it's not
3
a big
years ago.
nose.
Well, that's what I thought, but apparently I have a big nose.
Really?
Yeah.
It's broad. It's strong.
Rampage has a big nose. Like he's got a broad nose.
Mm-hmm.
Ariel, who's very open about it, has a big nose, but I think his is like he's got length, like his pokes out. Rampage's is a little bit more like fatter, or what is it? Wider. Yeah. Mm. Goes, I guess, a little bit, but I wouldn't call it like. You're not Morgan Fairchild or Michael Jackson, but you're not either of the other two. I guess maybe you are a little bit above average. I think I would probably fit under the same category.
I see your nose looks normal.
But I know I have a big head. You have a big head. I don't think you have a big head.
Dude,
Tito has a big head. Chael has a pretty big head.
As a senior in high school, I needed the size 8 Flex Fits baseball
There's no way,
caps.
because that's what I can probably get away with 7 3/4, and you just don't have as big of a head as me.
It's deceptive, man.
Do you put you tuck your ears in? Who does that? Ralph, right? Big Ralph.
I see.
Tucks his ears in his head. Does he just do it too?
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse. I got the big Hawaiian head, so I can take shots, and I used to be braggadocious about my small nose, but I got a small nose, so it's not getting clipped. It's but now actually I feel it, and I think just after all the years of just drilling and doing stuff, like I actually have a click in my nose, and I never noticed before. So it really doesn't matter. I think your size of nose, you can't afford the harsh. You get harsh weather somewhere.
Put in.
Oh, dude, that freaks me out, man. Oh man.
What's it called again?
I got enough medical procedures coming my way. I don't need to be thinking about more.
Oh, what's the update on that?
Monday, I'm going in for the imaging part. And the consult part before the surgery.
You still have discomfort or pain or anything?
Yeah, actually, the bloating's worse. In fact, since we're sharing all our cards on the table, I actually had my pants unbuttoned earlier pre-show. It was just like bothering me, but I'm good now. I'm clothed. Don't worry, Junkie Nation. We're keeping things above board here at the studio at the Mandalay Bay. But
I had no idea Matt gets here that early.
But no, it's been a discomfort for sure.
Some shout outs here on the Facebook chat. Martin Stabilo says, "Aloha, guys. Congrats to Danny on his first live popping off show yesterday. I saw that, but it was 9:30 at night when I saw it. I wanted to support live. I wish Danny would have told us before we left. Just when we said see you tomorrow, he could have said, "Don't forget about my show," or maybe a group text reminder. That's kind of what I need. I really wanted to hear it.
I'm really glad that you asked that, George. If you scroll up in our Facebook group text, I did just in fact
I know,
do that.
dude. But how many times
sent
do I
the
go?
link.
Who's on hold or whatever? And it's I don't peek as that one as much. But I mean, I will go back and catch it. How was it, Danny?
I thought it was pretty good. I had a lot of fun. It went really fast. Martin was actually in there. I said, and there were a couple other junkies that were in there too, and they were keeping like company during the show the entire time. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. And so next Wednesday you're doing it again?
Yeah, every Wednesday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern and 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific.
Were we home by then? I ran a lot. I ran around a lot with.
I don't think you were home yet though, when it started.
Okay. Huh. Phil Edelstein says good morning. Same. Back to you. Alex Batista. He says Joe Soto go back to Bellator. Now why would he do that? Let me look at Joe Soto's record to see if Joe Batista or Alex Batista has a point. He's 18-6 overall.
He was on a 3-fight win streak before this last loss.
He was on a 3-fight win streak. You're right. He did lose to Brett Johns, but Brett Johns is undefeated. I know he's finished 15 of his 18 fights, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He's lost to
he's a former champion
TJ
of Bellator.
Dillashaw.
I mean, he's clearly belongs in the UFC. So, Alex, I don't know if he stole your girlfriend or if that's just the way you react, but he's a solid fighter, man. Let's see here. Chad Mayhew, can you still fight after a cornea surgery?
I would think so because
I know detached retina was the big thing in combat sports.
Yeah, I think a couple years ago, well, not a couple, maybe go back 15 years ago, something like that would be really bad. I know detached retina is what ended Sugar Ray Leonard's career.
But then he came back.
And then he came back. So I think nowadays you could do that, cornea.
Yeah. Raimundo Martin, we roll in. David Bugner.
Yeah.
Good morning, fellas. And, of course, I threw on the number out there, 866-522-2846. And the last message there is from Danny Olkers. Hee Olkers. At Danny Otto. That's our producer. We'll talk to Joe Soto at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So now's a good time to take some calls. 866-522-2846.
Be like Samson from California. He's already in the queue.
Also, I have some odds here for this weekend. So I sure would like to talk some gambling a little bit. I'll throw you some odds out. Ronaldo Souza, -170. Derek Brunson, +140. I think two of us, right? Like Brunson?
Yep.
You like Jacare, right?
I want to take Brunson. I just don't trust Brunson. But I think he should win the fight. So I ended up going with
So +140 is a nice start to a parlay because the underdogs will help your parlay pay a lot more. Bermudez and Feely. It's a winnable fight for Feely. I went with Bermudez because StatPix doesn't. We don't even talk about the line at all. It's just we need a winner. But Feely's a playable fighter for sure. He has passed the victory. He's yet another underdog. Now, this serves for two purposes. One, just because if you like a parlay, I always say start off with an underdog, and then from there, if you have to go favorites, great. If you go all favorites, you're just not going to win much. It's not worth the risk. Not as crazy of a game that mixed martial arts is. The second reason I bring it up is to show you just how competitive these fights more than likely will be. You know, the other day we had Aaron Pico fighting Shane Cruckton. We've had Shane on the show. He's a good guy. But Aaron was -1,000, you know, and that's kind of how the fight played out.
He's also been caught.
Bellator.
Too,
he has.
Right? Can you imagine betting that one?
I know. Bellator, their fights can sometimes be a little bit disproportionate when you look at the I think Chandler was 3-1. Chael Rampage was a little, the line was a little bit tighter, but Eric Koch, boy, that guy just doesn't fight very often, and neither does his opponent Bobby Green, but they'll be mixing it up. Green's -165, Koch +135, so yet another competitive fight. Jordan Rinaldi, who was on our show a few weeks ago, he's +425. Gregor Gillespie -600. Gillespie's the undefeated wrestler that started off with a bang down in Brazil a few years ago. Let's see here. Mirsad Bektik is back. He's minus 600 versus Godofredo Pepe, plus 425. Frank Camacho, recent guest on the show, plus 155. His opponent, Drew Dober, is the favorite, minus 185.
That's going to be a fun
Caitlin
fight.
Chukagian, minus 160. Now, she is one of the fighters who could be a challenger for Nunes. You know, when we talk about Nunes and Cyborg and say, well, nobody's really clearly jumping out as a #1 contender other than Raquel Pennington. Chukagian needs maybe this win and maybe one more, and she's there, actually, just by her record and her performance in the UFC. What set her back was a loss she had in New York. Was it Kaufman, guys? Do you remember? Somebody set her back.
Oh, it was a Carmouche, yeah.
Carmouche,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, otherwise, she's really, really there. Speaking of bantamweights, Juliana Pena became a mom. Great photo, her and her daughter, and she was extremely happy. So congratulations to her and her. I believe she's in the fiancé stage. But if you're wondering why you haven't heard of, any fight bookings with her, she was carrying a baby and gave birth, I guess, yesterday or the day before. I don't know. I saw the Instagram post yesterday. So again, congrats. Caitlin Chukagian's opponent is Mara Romero Barella, plus 130. Randa Marcos, minus 160. Juliana Pena, plus 130. A lot of really close odds. When they're within 200, I consider it a pretty tight fight. The only two that are outside of that are clear favorites in Bektik and Gillespie. All right, continuing on. Vince Pichel, Joaquin Silva, both minus 150.
We talked about this morning. It's a tough fight. I went with Pichel.
Justine Kish versus Yi Yong Kim, plus 270. Kish, considerable favorite there. So the Kish fight, the Gillespie fight, and the Bektik fight, clear favorites. Kish, if you'll recall, is the young lady that had fought Felice and then had a accident in the octagon. But let me tell you something, man. I think she's tough.
Oh, she's awesome. Yeah.
She's strong and she's tough. I have a feeling, and she actually just owned it, the accident. So sure, you may hear that topic come up a little bit, but it's just going to go away because she owned it, in my opinion. She's not an athlete that you just want to hate on for any reason, so it'll go away. But I was very impressed with Justine Kish, and I now know why she's a sizable favorite. Do you have that parlay calculator? Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you just play it safe. If you're a Captain Obvious and just go, give me Gillespie, Bektik, and Kish, what does $100 pay? Minus 600, minus 600, minus 350.
Oh, man.
Like, that's literally one that you probably wouldn't be sweating. You have clear favorites.
Right.
Just at least according to the odds makers.
All right, who am I putting in?
Just put in minus 600.
Minus 600.
Another minus 600. And then minus 350.
I'll show you my formula with that, GG.
Minus 600.
You don't have to use the parlay calculator?
As far as just in general, I was talking about what you're doing, pairing up chalk. You know how you have your 3 to 5 rule for parlays? Well, when I pair chalk, I go either 2 or 3. And the goal is, obviously, you want secure chalk picks you feel good with, 2 or 3, parlaying together. But the goal is you want it just, and a lot of sharps will do this. They'll pair, for example, 2 favorites that are sizable, 2 minus 200 to 300 range, and maybe get like a plus money out of it or close to plus money to where they're laying 20 and getting 20 or laying 100 and getting 100. That's kind of their safe play. And then they'll kind of go and sprinkle other things, to throw a flyer on a dog here or there. So just for you degenerates out there listening who want some extra strategy on
That's
that.
like, I compare it to goes, like a teaser in football, minus 6. So the Patriots are favored by 7. Versus the Eagles. No, they're actually favored by 6 versus the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And you don't want to deal with the spread. So you don't want to deal with the spread. Hang on one second. Nadine, right? Yeah, okay. Hang on one second. You don't want to deal with the spread, right? So it's minus 6. You just make it a pick 'em. And so 2 of those, like what Dan said, and in football, those points can be huge. And now you're not getting worried about a backdoor cover, they call it in football.
We're 75.
So 100 pays you 75?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 1,000 would pay you 750. Mm-hmm. But you would go in with 3 considerable favorites and not have to sweat it. And that's what they call, chalk players, ones that just don't like to roll the dice as much or whatever. And you just kind of want the sure things,
Yeah.
Now, granted, if you lose 100. And if you win 75. Others will say, you know what? I'll just pick the winner of Pichel and Silva and just worry about one fight, and that's it. I either lose 115 or make 100 instead of having to worry about 2 fights. But in this fight, it's more competitive, whereas the other 3 fights, you have considerable favorites. So just to give you an idea how the gambling world works.
Hey, Gigi, how did you want to do this one? Because I know last week we each did individual ones, but the week before I think we all did like a consensus one. Do you want to do both, one or the other? What are you thinking? What are you feeling this week?
Let's do $5 each and do a Junkie Radio one.
I have this $5 on me right now in cash.
You do? Yeah, and we'll just go up there and do it right now. And then we'll do the one where we come back and go, ha, I'm the winner, you're the loser, you know?
Okay.
On Monday. Time is it? Is it break time, Danny? Let's do a break. All right. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We're going to work on our parlays here. We're going to do a spontaneous one here in the Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook. Do it legally, folks. It's going to be legal pretty soon worldwide. But for right now, we encourage you to do it in a legal fashion. Stay close. trips to the Super Bowl, 2 tickets to the game, hotel accommodations, and an experience to remember for a lifetime. All you have to do is answer 4 Super Bowl trivia questions, and you'll be on your way. Super Bowl trivia starts daily at 3 Eastern on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Sirius XM 82. By the way, I went and looked for these Eagle fan videos. I found about 10 of them. They weren't doing anything that's anything crazier than any other stadiums I've been to. And in fact, they look like choir boys of the stuff I've seen at the Maracana Stadium between Flamingo
there's
and...
no rules there, though.
Yeah, I mean, big deal. They threw some beer at people, and they flipped them off, and, you know, basically did one of those guards of honor where you had to, like, walk through them. Oh, heaven forbid. Mm-hmm. You know, one guy got locked into a porta potty.
Weren't they teasing like?
And about 2 minutes later, they let him out, and then they took pictures and selfies. And I kept looking and looking. I even put Mean Eagle fans. Nothing really Mean Eagle fans, and it wasn't that bad, man. Now there is one interview of a couple that comes back to Minnesota, and they go, "Oh my God, they didn't treat us well," but I don't see any video. They just said, you know, and we don't know what the other side is. Without the video, we don't know that maybe they weren't popping off, or they didn't do anything that
they're no Dodger fans
that resulted in a slap. No, this yeah, over there's hardcores, man, stabbings and shit. Also, we are adding a couple of guests. We'll talk to Nadine from Punch Gunk. We've had that product here on our desk a few times, and over there off to the side, and it was a couple that I met in Costa Mesa. But even before then, this got sent to us on our trip to JBLE. The last time it just got there a little bit late, and so we weren't able to really study it, deliver it. But the more I'm reading about it, this is no joke, man.
Dude, if there was a bathtub of it right now, I would dive right into it.
You're that sore?
Yeah, I'm that sore.
It's good stuff in here too.
Yeah, well, look at the website, punchgunk.com. Get familiar with it. Nadine will come on in about 15 minutes. But there's some fighters, you know, that give some love there with their testimonials, and it's not prohibited in or out of competition by the World Anti-Doping Agency. That was one thing that stood out to me, or USADA. The other one was FDA approved. You guys aren't messing around, Nadine. All right, we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. Let's take some calls. Again, 866-522-2846. We'll start off with Samson in Cali. What's up, Samson?
Samson.
Hey, what's up, guys? First, I don't know if did you get my tweet the other day, George? I don't even know how to really send things out, so I have my brother help me.
What's your handle?
I mean, I think it's Samson Williams, but I'm not sure.
Well, what'd you say? What was the topic?
Well, you told me to send you a video of my kids doing that Burt Watson thing, so I did.
You have it?
I tagged you in it.
I
tagged you in it. I tagged the official MMA junkie, but yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, take a look.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to say is I was listening to the show from a couple of days ago. You're talking about like fighters promoting themselves, and it's like, man, some people's interviews are just terrible. And I know you just said Rockhold's coming on. If everybody interviewed like Rockhold, people wouldn't watch MMA. That guy's so boring. So try to get him to open up a little bit, because he has a good exciting fight coming up.
Yes, Luke Rockhold will be on at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, and yeah, we'll see. Once he gets going, he has given us some good quotes, some good sound bites in the past. You're right. Sometimes it's like he's going through the motions, but I want to hear a little bit more out of him, especially because he really, really is a top-notch fighter who worked really hard to get where he's at. He was just a Cali surfer kid, you know what I mean? His dad played, I think, a professional, was it volleyball?
His basketball.
Yeah, or basketball, yeah. And then the one brother's a volleyball player, and one brother's a surfer. So you knew there was some athleticism there. And then, he worked hard and became a world champion. And now he's got this interim title that he's gunning for out there in Australia. So we'll see what his thoughts are. But
Romero wins by knockout.
Ooh, all right.
Hey, one question I wanted to ask you though. I'm a bartender over here in the Bay Area, and even though the owners don't like this, but I have my Fight Pass hooked into one of the TVs, and so I have a whole bunch of regulars that I put on real exciting fights or a whole card that I enjoy, and just trying to get more MMA fans. So I try to put on the most exciting fights. I was wondering what cards do you think I should put on that's start to finish exciting? Because I usually put on 199, 189, 207 was fun.
We always talk about Pride 33 on here, but I will say, how about
UFC 199 was pretty damn good.
He said that was the first one.
Oh, okay.
Go back to 116, man. That's
Shane Carwin and
a
Brock
fun
Lesnar?
card. Yeah, at least the main card. I'm trying to look at who the prelims were, but you had Chris Liebman and Akiyama in that zombie war. You had Lytle and Matt Brown, Bonner and Szynski, which was actually an action fight there, and then I always love me some Kurt Pellegrino, but he fought George Soteropoulos to open it up. You had Shaw versus Kristen Schechner, Ricardo Romero versus Petrozelli. Okay, maybe not as strong on the undercard, but that was like one of my top main cards. That UFC 116.
138 had the Shogun Hendo fight. I was there. There was a couple of snoozers, but I remember having a good time there as well. I think Vanderlei knocked out Kong Lee, and we had that main event, and Ferguson Thompson. I can't remember, but yeah, there's a couple.
I was playing 211. I was playing 211 last night, and then man, I had a good crowd going talking about it, and all of a sudden Damian Maia comes in and starts tugging on Masvidal. I was like, damn it. you guys have it going. I'm over here at work.
All right, Samson. Later.
Easy, Samson. You know, there's another underrated card that was super violent. That it was one of the earlier Fight for the Troops card, but everybody seemed to be getting messed up. Brandon Wolf got messed up by knees by Ben Saunders. Josh Koscheck knocked the Japanese guy out like twice
Kennedy
standing.
Main evented?
That was when Corey Hill broke his shin.
Dale Harden. I was thinking about Dale today.
Someone got an arm bar extended too long. I want to say it was like a Steve Cantwell fight, and like their arm popped. Like there was like every fight, like they were playing like for keeps. I was like, dude, this is like the most violent card ever.
Or how about just popping in any WEC ever?
Yeah, there we go.
Smaller cage, and those guys brought it, man.
Dude,
they had some cards back in the day. Let's go to Hal in Chicago. What's up, Hal? How you doing?
Hey, good, man. I'll also throw in UFC on Versus 5. It was in Milwaukee. It was the first ever Midwest junkie gathering. I was there. I met Morgan, Angelo, Jalapeno, and Syrian. But that was where Chris Lytle retired. A lot of finishes, very high action. So back in August of 2011.
Dude,
good card. Versus 5.
Card.
I mean, who the fuck would look for that, right?
Remember
Thank
that.
you, Hal. Good
Great
job.
one, yeah.
Here's the Hail Mary parlay. George Sullivan, man. I understand why Nico's favored. Great win over, the pretty boy, the model. Name escapes me. But George Sullivan is getting disrespected here. You know, that guy, he went to war with Means. Tim Means. Mm-hmm. He beat Mike Rhodes in Australia. It just seems like a guy that never gets any respect, but he's a grinder. Former Cage Fury champion. He's over there with Kurt Pellegrino, very good gym. So I like him to make it ugly and win a decision over Nico Price. So we're going to go with Sullivan at plus 245.
Where are these people fighting? Is this on Fox 27? Is this just not listed on our
line? It's not listed.
Yeah, okay, all right, Sullivan.
Listed on this one.
You know what they said about his sister after she got married? Maiden name was Sullivan.
Tombstone?
Yes. All right. Continue, Hal.
Yeah, man. Good one, dude. All right, so we'll go with Sullivan, Bermudez. I'll be a Huckleberry. Sullivan, Bermudez, and Vince Pichel. That pays 9.5 to 1.
Man, all volatile fights too.
Pichel, huh? Okay.
Yep. Hey,
do you like Sullivan?
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe I like him more because Hal's on him. Hal's been on a streak lately, but no, I actually
2-0.
I took Nico Price. Sullivan. It's so hard. The layout. I'm not even going to speculate on the USADA stuff and his whole story there.
Dude, he told on himself. This guy tells on himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know he's serious.
I don't
know
even,
he's serious.
I don't even. It's hard to even take that
dope,
stuff.
You know what I mean?
But it's hard to back Sullivan for the inconsistencies. Like, I got love for Kurt Pellegrino in that camp, and I love when I come across that fight of his and Tim Means when I did on Tape Study. That's always fun to go back and watch, even though he comes off the losing end. That dude scraps. So if you're taking the shots on live dogs, I don't blame it. I'm kind of just staying away from that fight because it's super volatile. But I don't necessarily blame anything Hal's saying, to be honest, though.
Forget Dong Kook Kim. I think that's the favorite dog among the sharps. Young Kook Kim or Kook Sol Wan, who's fighting Justine Kish.
Hell no, I'm not going against Kish, man. Kish looks tough to me.
Dude, she'll fight for your money, man, that girl.
Kish all day.
Yeah, Kish. All right, man.
Kish all day. All right, guys. Take care, man. Hey, I'll be. If anybody wants to go, hit up me or Buffalo Blue. We have an extra ticket.
Oh, you'll be in Charlotte?
All right.
Oh, shit.
Oh, an extra ticket, too.
Man.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, extra ticket. All right, guys.
Miles.
You think somebody's going to be calling and going, hey, I heard you had an extra ticket.
Yeah. They're going to be out of breath, too.
Scott from Utah. What's up, Scott?
What's up, boys?
Scotty.
What up?
Hey, guys. I was watching that Stipe Ngannou fight, and I kept on shouting at the TV in the third, I think, fourth round when Stipe had him against the cage, putting his weight on him. I kept on shouting, get on his back, choke him out, or flatten him out and, punch him out. Was Stipe just too tired to do that, or does he have no jiu-jitsu?
No, I think it was that, and I think he also ran the risk because not Fabricio, Francis, he always gave you this feeling like even though he was exhausted, he could still recover, and even in recovering and standing up, imagine if somehow he was able to. Let's say Stipe took his back and Ngannou gets up and maybe shucks him off somehow and winds up on top. I think Stipe was just playing it smart. He was exhausted, and he figured, hey, I'm winning rounds. I'm not getting hit by him. I'm just not rolling the dice at any point. There are just fights or games that are difficult when you look at the schedule, and if you have to get out of there, I'll use a basketball score. 77-75, I'll use a football score. 7-3, I'll use a soccer score. 0-0, and then you come home, and win at home 4-0 and advance that way. Whatever, man, it doesn't matter.
Do a hockey one?
A hockey one? 1-0. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, you have to win, right? There's no ties, so 1-0. But there are defensive hockey games. Sometimes they have a great defense, and they'll just count at some point on scoring. By the way, I'm going to the hockey game today.
Okay.
But anyway, I think that's what it was, man. That he knew that if he got past this, he didn't have to see Francis for a while. He'll probably have to see him again, and Francis will be better, but so will Stipe. Who knows? Or who knows if Stipe will still be around? I don't know, but I think he just needed to fight smart, and yes, he was tired too.
Okay. So you think he does have jiu-jitsu then, and skills?
Yeah, I mean, he's not Fabricio Verdum, but
I'll weigh in on that.
Who doesn't at this point have something? Didn't he try to choke him in the first round?
I got to go back and rewatch.
It was like from the side. You know what I mean? So it didn't look good, but he was also falling off. But go ahead and weigh in.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. By the way, I agree with anything George said, and he was tired, for sure. But as far as the jiu-jitsu thing, anything speculation, unless you're in his camp or no Stipe, first of all. But for what my opinion's worth, like even in the breakdown, like even if you were someone like me and that was siding with Francis, there's no way you were going to say that Stipe didn't have the grappling advantage going into the fight if it became a dogfight like that, right? Which it did, and we saw the result. But one of the things that made me, I guess, less confident, which is why I had such a hard time taking a side, was because in all Stipe's fights, even the fights where he did finish two guys on the ground, which was only two, Mark Hunt and Shane Del Rosario. That Shane Del Rosario fight, granted it was earlier in his sample size, you'll see him. He actually gets to a dominant position on top, but lets Shane up, and Shane was tagging him to the body and to the legs, just like JDS was in their fight. And Shane was one of the first people to find that on Stipe, and even though the fight wasn't going Stipe's way and he was rocked and dropped, he actually let Shane back up, and in the post-fight, Rogan asked him about it. He's like, well, I just wasn't that comfortable. I mean, Stipe's been admittedly, kind of saying that. And if you look, he's never really offered any submissions going through all of his fights or anything like that. His one submission win is by leg kicks. I don't know why they rolled it like that in whatever promotion he was fighting for outside the UFC. But you don't really see him threatening chokes, to close off escape routes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This would have been the fight to do it. So maybe it's just not. It really is just not in his repertoire.
One more thing. Is it true that Carlos Condit and Matt Brown might be hooking horns there?
That's what we're hearing, my man. Thanks for the call. But that is what we're hearing. I think it's done. They just don't have a date. It's literally that done, Scott. Thanks again for the call. GG Tony, last guy. What's up, Tony? What's up? How you doing?
Match, second day of the water challenge. And, speaking of the UFC PI Center, shout out to, of course, Dan Tom for P. Listen, I wanted to definitely say this, guys. I think that Justine Kish fight could be a crap show.
DJ Tony doing a set. All right. Hey, guys, I wanted to ask you about this. So, Bellator 193, guys, I think, it's this weekend, and I don't think it's getting a lot of eyes right now. But what kind of numbers do you think the Bellator will do? I'm just curious because they did great numbers. They did over 900,000, right? They actually averaged a little higher than the UFC prelim. So I'm curious to know what kind of numbers you think they're going to do. And you guys are the best, guys.
I'm out of here. See ya.
All right, we'll see you.
Well, first question you got to ask yourself is what are they up against, right?
Right.
And on Friday, there's not really much going
Nothing,
on.
right?
Yeah. So
there's not even
they're
college
good,
basketball. There's just a slate of NBA games, and
hockey.
other than that, I can't think of anything. Everything Super Bowl related is the following week. Yeah, hockey. They're in season, but Friday's a real slow night for college hoops. So hopefully they piggyback off that 900,000, and I still believe it'll be less because the kind of firepower that 92 had, which Chael and Rampage and Chandler, title fight, it's just not here for this one. This one has more like local talent, but that's it. Nothing jumps off your page to the casual fan, other than maybe just Larkin, and that's really because of what he's done in the UFC. We got to go to break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back with Nadine from Punch Gunk.
Charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device and tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel, and you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you can get the latest news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. All right, thanks to all the calls. That was a great run of calls. We'll open up the phone lines in the second hour. Couple additions. Luke Rockhold will join us at halfway point of the second hour, and he's got the title fight coming up for the interim title versus Yoel Romero out in Perth, Australia. They headline UFC 221, so we'll talk to him. We got Joe Soto coming up here, but we want to spend these next 5 minutes with Nadine McIntyre, who I met along with her husband Cameron in Costa Mesa at LFA 30, and it all tied in because they introduced themselves and as the co-owners of Punch Gunk. Punch Gunk is a product that was sent to us by a good friend of ours, Oren Hodek, because one of his fighters, James Vick, had accompanied us on one of the trips. It just didn't get there in time, and then we didn't really get a chance to share it. But it's ready to be shared. We're going on a trip back to JBLE. It's there and ready to be shared along with some product from Rev Gear as well, with the combative units. And welcome, Nadine. How you doing?
I'm good.
Thanks for stopping by. She actually just stopped by to say hi, and we said, nope, you got to talk about Punch Gunk, or we're not letting you leave. But you actually used Punch Gunk.
Yeah, I used
some of the product.
Like the first day you gave it to me, I was really, really sore, and I used it on my hamstrings.
Yeah, nice.
And they worked.
Yeah. Tough stuff for the rough stuff. I like it. Talk a little bit about Punch Gunk, Nadine.
So Punch Gunk is a pain-relieving lotion that we designed specifically for combat athletes. You guys get hurt. You train hard. You live hard. It's a lifestyle, and there needs to be something specifically for you, and we couldn't find anything else out there. So we started talking to fighters and asking them what they needed, what was missing, and we created Punch Gunk from that.
How did you cross paths with the sport of mixed martial arts?
So I've always been a fan.
Okay.
Day one, I've been at fights. I've been watching fights. I got Cameron involved in watching. I decided to start training in my 40s, which is probably not the smartest time to see if you could take a punch. And we kind of came up with Punch Gunk because I was looking for stuff that I could use and still train every day. And there was nothing out there that I felt comfortable putting on my body and that could get me through. So we talked to people and we decided to create something basically so I could train.
How about that? That's a great story.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah. And now it appears I am trying it because this one's leaking a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that happened to me.
Oh, that happened to you? Okay.
We'll get
that
you
was
guys a
my
new
fault.
one.
It's just on my hands, just a little bit.
Yeah, I found out the hard way.
You got the smell, though. It's a good smell.
Yeah,
it is.
that's what I was going to ask you. So first thing people are going to ask are what are the difference between this and kind of like icy hot, those type of things? And I can tell you off firsthand, the smell is definitely different.
Yeah.
But what else?
So some of the differences, one is the smell. That was a really big deal. We worked hard on that. It's a water base, so it soaks into your skin right away. It's not greasy. It's not alcohol. It's not going to dry you out. It's actually good for your skin. So you can use it, 4 or 5 times a day. You can use it before you train, after you train. It doesn't come off on the mat because it's water-based. It soaks in right away. It's not coming off on your rash guard. It's not coming off on your gis. You're not going to piss off any of your coaches or anyone else at the gym, which was really key. And then the ingredient list. We really went with the 9 natural ingredients. So when you're looking at it, you've got aloe, kava, nettle, arnica, gotu kola, willow bark, licorice root, tea tree heart. It's anything that you would need as a fighter or as someone who's training to fight to keep you going.
I used to work at
USADA and WADA approved.
Correct.
I used to work at a Whole Foods, and so it made myself familiar with a lot of natural products on like what you want for inflammation and not. And just looking at your products here, I'm seeing a lot of the stuff pop up that I've been pointed to by people who know what they're talking about and stuff that have worked for me in the past. So bravo on the ingredients list here.
Thank you. We worked with some chemists that they knew what they were talking about, so that's what we went with.
And that's risky business to be involved in mixed martial arts and to have have an ingredient not be compliant with USADA is the important one. USADA oversees the UFC testing using the WADA guidelines, so it's not like it's 2 different bodies or anything like that. I just don't want to confuse everybody. But you've gotten some reviews from Andrea Lee, Amanda Cooper, Adam Piccolotti, Chidi Njokwani, Joe Schilling. So very cool. How long have you guys been doing this? Been in business?
We just hit our 1-year anniversary, so 2 years to create it, test it, all that, and we're coming out strong. We're really excited.
It's also FDA approved.
It is.
Yeah, so just your non-athletes that are not worried about USADA or WADA or anything like that, it is FDA approved to relieve muscle and joint pain. Well, thank you very much for coming by to say hello and introducing us to this. We definitely plan on using it. And like I said, we have some waiting for us at JBLE to share with the combatives. They're always training hard, and it'll be really, really cool. For more information on Punch Gunk, go to punchgunk.com. You have any social media you want to plug? We got about 30 seconds.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we are all over it. Join us, say hi. Anything you guys need, we are here. We're excited to be part of it, and thank you for letting me in the room and seeing your beautiful faces.
Hey, you should set up a sponsorship with the Dallas Cowboys. They're always sore, right?
They are. They're sore losers.
They're fans.
You know what? We should send it to the Tustin Cavemen, right? They're sore losers. Really. All right. We come back with Joe Soto, UFC Bantamweight, and we'll follow that up with Luke Rockhold, UFC Middleweight. Stay close. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93.
bucks.
My girl's like candy, a candy queen. She knocks me high up off my feet. She's so fine.
Hopefully at the end of the movie, they don't have to sing it.
What's your play? Gillespie? This is an underdog parlay, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Come back to some new edition. Dan, what's your pick?
You want me to list the names?
No, we just need one. You do one, I do one,
okay.
and Goes does one. We're each putting in $5.
I'll take the dog since 2 or 3 of us went with the dog. If you guys will.
Well, we're all taking dogs on this
We
one.
all have to take dogs.
Okay. Well then, Brunson.
Brunson for Dan Tom. Goes?
I'm going to go with a classic. Let me go with Eric Koch.
Nice.
All right, and that leaves me with
Classic Coke Classic.
Like it?
Yeah, that's right.
Let me think about this one.
You can't press us for our picks and then.
Well, I know. I thought I was gonna take Brunson. I was gonna let him take. All right, I'll take Feely. All right.
Okay.
All right. So you just need to add $5 on our parlay set. All right. Now let's talk to Joe Soto. He will be taking off for Brazil pretty soon, so we have to get him on this week. He's a former Bellator featherweight champ, and now he's a UFC bantamweight. Excuse me. He'll be facing Yuri Alcantara at UFC Fight Night 125, February 3rd. That fight card is headlined by Lyoto Machida and Eric Anders. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Joe? How you doing?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Good, my man. I'm glad we were able to connect. You were in the car yesterday when we were talking to Chito Vera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Joe, you have to fly out to Brazil, and Chito's pretty comfortable with it. Are you? I mean, you did go out there and have some success. Was this... a lot of fighters just don't like doing it, and others are really, really comfortable with it. But this will be your third time in 4 fights that you're heading to another country. And when it comes to Brazil, it's really another continent. It's 10 hours of travel. At least Mexico City was half of that. But you cool with all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna, give me a paycheck to help my family out. I'll do whatever, But, I mean, obviously I guess I'd rather fight somewhere closer, but... yeah, I mean, the only thing that sucks about it for me is just the long flight, right? Being on the airplanes, they're really uncomfortable and shit, but as long as I make a paycheck and,
is
get a mortgage, I'll do whatever.
Is that just a saying, Joe, or are you one of those fighters that really does live check to check?
I think for me, I mean, yeah, I mean, my wife doesn't work, so we're both kind of at home with the kids. I'm training a lot, but
I gotcha.
we do, I do kind of live paycheck to paycheck.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So then your leverage is a little bit different than maybe other fighters that might be single, or maybe they were able to stack some paper. You sometimes just have to take the fights that are available rather than be picky, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't have that much money where I could be picky, I mean, so, but I think I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing pretty good, but I mean, money is, I'm not a millionaire or nothing.
Mm-hmm. How many fights are you into this contract, by the way, that you're in?
This is my last fight on my on this contract. I'm 2-1 on this contract.
I see. So this is a pretty big win for you. This is a pretty big fight for you, because a win that would make you 3-1 on this last contract, and you would have taken out 2 tough Brazilians. So that's like company time there. That's a guy that's doing some solids for the company. It would give you 4 of your last 5 being wins. Just a lot more leverage going forward.
Yeah, definitely a kind of big deal here. This fight. I guess every fight's kind of like that. I feel like pressure on every fight, or every fight's the biggest. Your next fight's always the biggest. So was definitely,
Do you plan on testing free agency, or do you feel like pretty firm that the UFC is where you just need to be?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely where I want to stay, and where I want to be. So I want to stay here. I like fighting the UFC. I want to fight the toughest guys, and they've taken care of me pretty good. So everything good to me. So no complaints here.
Yeah, and you've been to Bellator, the #2 organization. That was a different regime, but you've been there. So at least you have the experience of knowing how they work and how the UFC works.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere's pretty much the same, so. But this is like the biggest stage, and probably make the most money here, especially with the bonuses. If you're lucky enough to get a bonus. And that's, I don't think I'd rather fight anywhere else, really. I mean, if I had to. If I didn't have another choice, then I would, but it's my number one choice to fight.
You probably know this already, but I would be thinking that if you and the UFC are negotiating after this fight and you're not that far apart, you got to let them know, hey, do you remember UFC 177 when I saved the card? Right? You're holding that ace up your sleeve.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, I don't know if they still care about that, or, but it's always kind of
right.
Throw it out there.
I think so, yeah. And if they go, you're right, then I expect you to come by the Mandalay Bay and give me my cut. But anyway,
we do it in everyday life, don't we? How many times you've never dropped hey, remember that time I helped you move?
Exactly.
I mean, do it in everyday life.
Yeah, man. Don't forget about that. I was there for that card, so that was huge that you did that. You went out there, you competed. It wasn't just a walkover or anything like that. And you're a former champion, man. So go into those negotiations confident. But first things first, you got to get that win over Yuri Alcantara on February 3rd.
Exactly. I plan on doing that, and I plan on getting the finish too. Hopefully, I'm always trying to finish, so hopefully it goes good.
All right, let me turn it over to the guys here. Goes and Dan. Goes, you go first. What do you have for Joe Soto?
Joe, on these international cards, aside from some of the obvious things that fighters have stated in the past, like the travel and taxes, what's something that maybe the fans don't think about that can be very bothersome in having to travel for these fights?
Well, it's just like traveling, and then the weight cut as you travel. I think for me, I shouldn't have a problem at all. I'm pretty small right now, so it's just kind of the weight cutting. I don't know. That kind of sometimes, because I think we're gonna leave on a Monday, get there like Tuesday night, and then we gotta weigh in like Saturday or something. So it's kind of that, and just if you're not used to that process, it switches things up. Because sometimes fighters will get in routines and get comfortable with like certain practices. Especially fighting here in state. So it's just something new if you haven't did it. Helps if you like I said, like you guys said, I fought in Brazil before, so it kind of helps. That's a new place too in Brazil, so it's just different. So sometimes that's good, I think.
Joe, so we've interviewed you plenty of times, so I want to ask you this question, and I don't want it to sound offensive, so I'm going to try and explain it in a way that hopefully it doesn't. But the last fight, because it ended so quickly, and it wasn't one of those fights where you could go, man, that was a massacre, or Joe looked so terrible. Could there have been like a silver lining that it happened quickly where you could still maybe benefit a little bit from the 3 previous wins and the momentum from that?
Like something, I don't know, I don't know. It just sucks to lose, that fast, and it's kind of hard to see, like, what good could have came out of that, or I don't know. I mean,
I guess what I'm is where
what were you trying?
Like where people could look at it and just go, "Oh man, he just made a mistake," versus a performance where you could go, "Wow, he was just outplayed" or something like that.
Yeah, the other guy was too fast, too powerful, too this, too that.
Yeah, it was just a mistake.
I guess you could look at it. I guess you could look at it that way. Like, I didn't get picked apart, or like,
yeah.
And most people do when they talk to me about that last loss. They're like, You know, it's just one of those things. I mean, when you get caught that fast, you know, it's kind of like it's hard to take anything away from it. I mean, obviously, I did some technical things wrong, but it's kind of hard to point a finger and be like, oh, wow, you need to work on this. Or, you know, I mean, obviously. So, I mean, yeah, and the thing about it, too, at least I didn't get hurt, I guess. You know, I was able to compete right away. You know, that's the biggest thing, too. As long as I've been injured with a detached retina before, so, like, sometimes it's just like, man, as long as I don't get my fucking, as long as I don't go blind or something, you know what I mean? All right, but yeah, it kind of sucks that I didn't get to perform. That's the only thing, you know, about it. I didn't feel like I got to perform, or like I worked so hard for that last fight too, you know. But that's a fight game, you know. So the fight game, never know how it's going to go, and that anything can happen. That was a crazy way to, you know, especially me. I'm good with submissions, you know. So I hardly ever get caught, even at practice and stuff.
Yeah,
so
and that's
get caught 30 seconds. That was something kind of. I mean, it's hard. It hurts your soul, but then you kind of laugh. You're like, what the heck? Like, I don't know, life's a trip.
Yeah, for those that don't know, you're a black belt under David Terrell, and he's one of the greatest grapplers America's ever produced. So you know, even black belts get caught for, you know, so no shame in that.
Yeah.
The cow slicer's a rare submission, and again, you know, the stock dropped a little bit because a loss is a loss, but you know, you're right. You're only fighting 60 days removed from that, so. The only thing I want to ask you, just to parlay off what Go said, was what did the guys back at the gym, or even Terrell, if you're in contact with him, or anybody else, where was the mistake made? Like, can you technically lead us through it, but yet in layman's terms, I guess, a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, there's things I could have did. Maybe come in like, cause he came in with punches. I went straight back. You know, I could have angled out or moved to the side. So I went kind of straight back, and then he bounced out, and he came in again with punches, and I just changed levels and shot. I could have threw a punch maybe to kind of distract him before I hit the shot, so he wasn't able to like react right away. You know, because right when I hit that single leg shot, he kind of. Well, another thing, I put my head to the outside to the finish. I went to a different finish I never really do, and it's kind of a risk. Like when you throw your head to the outside, there's, you know, obviously he went for the slicer, but there's other things you can do. So I threw my head to the outside, and he went for the slicer. But I thought he was taking my back, so I rolled with it, you know, kind of helped him a little bit, because I thought he was going to take my back. I didn't throw him setting up with the slicer. And instead of trying to defend, I kind of rolled with it, and I was kind of relaxing the situation. And we ended up in a, kind of like a 50-50 where I could have took his back. I tried to take his back, but I was kind of too relaxed where he was able to grab my leg slicer, and then I was stuck there. So then I tried to go back to defend the slicer, and it was already too late. You know? Those moves are so painful. It's kind of hard to, and then your knee will actually give out, and you know, tap.
Joe Soto, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio, UFC bantamweight, flying down to Brazil on February 3rd to take on Yuri Alcantara. All right, Dan Tom, what do you have for Joe Soto?
Joe, we know you train at Team Oyama, and Colin seems to be building an army of South American guys, but now I'm seeing you guys got some Hawaiians down there too. Can you talk about that? Luis Smoka and Russell Doan, have they been a part of your camp? I know Russell can fight from southpaw, and you're facing Yuri, but can you speak on maybe those guys joining the camp?
Yeah, that was awesome. They just they probably joined when I came up. You know, I don't live down there. I travel down there to do my camps down there. I live like 3 hours north. But yeah, they definitely have a bunch of South American fighters. People from like Peru, Chile, and Ecuador, and people from Ecuador. A lot of tough guys, a lot of hungry. You know, all these guys are a little bit younger than me, so like in their 20s, like mid-20s, and freaking killers. And then you get the Hawaiians now. When I started my camp, Russell came out, and then I think Lewis came with a week or two after him. So they all been kind of there rotating on me, giving me some good looks, and a lot of these guys that, you know, I'm playing the southpaw, so they're all, you know, been switching southpaw for me, and good looks, and they're good bodies, high caliber fighters, both, you know, technical, smart, and good athletes. You know, Russell's freaking amazing athlete. You know, Cheeto's got a lot of tools and weapons, so they've been giving me some good looks, and you know, I've been fighting these guys off my body kind of I'm in a recovery now from all the rounds these guys are giving me. It's awesome to have a group of fighters that high caliber in there. And then there's other guys that are outside the UFC that are just tough. So it's been good. They got a lot of fighters they recruit at Oyama's, and he's a great coach and a great mind. So it's been good work.
Awesome. And speaking of southpaws, I mean, you got Yuri Alcantara, in front of you, and I always tell people, he's got one of the more underrated resumes. If you go look at his Sherdog record, you look at the names, the weight classes that he's fought in. But how do you break him down, Joe?
Well, that's why, one thing is Oyama and Chito kind of lower the eyeballs for me. They kind of watched a bunch of his fights, and they were just telling me things he likes to do, and they just gave me a good game plan, and technical things to focus on. I got a game plan that they put together for me, and we were drilling that every day, over and over and over and over and over and over. So, I feel like it's gonna. I'm not even gonna have to think about it when I'm in there. Hopefully, everything just happens. So it'll be. I feel good. I feel comfortable with the plan Oyama gave me, and I'm ready to take this guy head on.
Joe, one last thing here. I've been in gyms where a fighter's walked in, and I've heard the coach tell him what the game plan is in about 30 seconds. Now, they may have had other conversations or whatever, but sometimes they keep it as simple as that. I've also heard of fighters where someone will actually type up an outline and finer points and have links to videos to point out pluses and minuses on the opponent, and then they have study session, and it's they all sit together and watch it. So I've seen them both. Where do you fall in? Is it pretty quick, a quick discussion when talking about game plans, or is it like the longer version for you?
No, it's pretty simple. Hey, this guy likes to throw this. This guy likes to throw these kind of kicks. You're going to circle this way, and you should throw this punch before you attack this. You should hit this kick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty simple, basic stuff. I mean, I've been fighting for a long time, so just like little tips and things. And then we put it in the drilling a lot, so we'll drill a lot of stuff, and he'll watch it, and we'll do it over and over. And then we'll have different bodies throw different things at me. But everybody says send southpaw, just drilling a lot, and then doing a lot of live goes too. Okay, this guy's southpaw, doing a lot of live MMA rounds and just implementing my style and kind of working on those things. But it's not too it's not like on paper or anything.
Gotcha.
Too crazy.
All right, my man. Well, I know you got some stuff to take care of before you head down to Brazil, so thank you very much for squeezing us in and letting us talk to you before UFC Fight Night 125 versus Yuri Alcantara. Safe travels to Brazil. Good luck on February 3rd.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you, Joe.
See ya.
All right, thank you to Ed Cap for lining that one up. Joe Soto on Twitter, at Joe Soto 135. Again, we've added Luke Rockhold, former UFC middleweight champion, who will be fighting Yoel Romero on February 3rd. Excuse me. What's that date?
February
10th.
It's not the 3rd, though.
Yeah, it's not the 3rd. This guy, Soto's fighting on 3rd. Sorry about that. Luke Rockhold will be fighting Yoel Romero on February 10th. Yeah, it's the following weekend, and that's a pay-per-view. Mark Hunt also mixing it up with Curtis Blades in the co-main event. So we'll talk to Rockhold here in about 10 minutes. The game planning. The reason I was asking that, I was watching Inside the NFL yesterday, and if you're a football fan, I always recommend watch that show. Ray Lewis and Brandon Marshall had about a 5-minute discussion just on one play, and they talked about from both sides what happened on a certain touchdown. And it's one thing that Ray Lewis, he's going to go in the Hall of Fame this year. I mean, he's automatic. T.O., Randy Moss, this is their second, third, fourth year of eligibility. I mean, and those guys have beast numbers. Owens and Moss should be in the NFL, or in the NFL Hall of Fame. Problem is, the off the field, was a little bit shaky at times. They believe John Lynch might go in this year as well, one of the hardest hitting safeties ever. But going back to the mind that is Ray Lewis, it's all automatic on where the other linebacker is going to be and when they turn over a tight end to the safety. And it all comes down to game planning and preparation and everything. And sometimes I wonder if fighters could just uncover more details. Now, some will tell you when I know too much, I just freak out and then I don't perform or whatever. But I still think that's the minority. I think the majority and the right way is film session and drilling over and over and just seeing ticks, repetitions.
It all happens so fast.
It
right?
does. It does. Yeah.
It really comes down to just reactions, and when you do something so many times,
right?
Like Dan, how many times when you're in the gym and you're rolling jiu-jitsu, you're not really thinking, you're just reacting, right? Like you've done it so many times, certain positions that you just pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
Like a train, right?
Yeah.
Football's the same way. It happens so fast that you have to drill certain situations and know things and react that way.
That's good that he has a fighter getting a look. Marlon Vera, who watches a lot of fights, to prepare for his Spanish broadcasts of the UFC pay-per-views or I guess most cards. How often does he do those cards? Did he say that?
It
Is
can't
just
be that
pay-per-view,
often,
Big Fox,
right?
or what?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Marlon Vera is on the Spanish version. And so to have him, knowing he's well prepared, and Koliyama, that's a nice 1-2 punch.
Can I say something really quick?
Sure.
I can't remember in the history of this show getting more feedback on one guest than Jess Clark. And I had that discussion with you, Dan, before the show. And since then, I've probably gotten about 5 other messages.
I've seen some too. Yeah.
About how much people enjoyed her being on the show yesterday.
Well, she did great.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the fact that she did great. Junkie Nation did great too. They had some great calls, great questions for her. It was lively, and she was great with the questions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the day before, the world champion was on the show. And the next day, it was just non-stop about this girl and how great she was on the show. So, yeah, maybe we need to rebook her sooner than later.
Yeah, and that 2 hours, we found out so much about her. It cost her 2 hours of her life, but I don't think she was in any form of a training camp. She's just coming off a win, and it's still, in the memory banks. We're remembering the fact that she just fought Paige Van Zandt, UFC, St. Louis, and a lot of other fighters. They get lost, man, unless you're actually reaching out to them. They just aren't doing it. They're focused on the camp, and they don't realize that's only part of the job. It's the majority of the job, but it's only part of the job. And guess what? You can always do the media afterwards. This is a post-fight interview that we did with her. She co-hosted. We found out a lot about her, and she probably made a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah.
Let's take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll be talking to former UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold, who headlines UFC 221 against Yoel Romero. This is on February 10th in Perth, Australia. First time they've ever gone to Perth. The UFC's already sold out. It's going to be a good one. The co-main event slot is Curtis Blades and Mark Hunt. All right, folks, stay close. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Sirius XM Rush 93.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
It's Super Bowl trivia on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Join Christopher Mad Dog Russo all week as the marquee will be giving away 4 trips to the Super Bowl, 2 tickets to the game, hotel accommodations, and an experience to remember for a lifetime. All you have to do is answer 4 Super Bowl trivia questions, and you'll be on your way. Super Bowl trivia starts daily at 3 Eastern on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Sirius XM 82. Do you think you'd do good at Super Bowl trivia questions?
I don't think so. I'm not very good at dates. So if people go like WrestleMania 15, I wouldn't be able to tell you who. But if somebody were to say, remember when Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon fought, then I would
what if I give you an easy? I'm going to give you an easy one, all right?
Okay.
It's not the longest run from scrimmage. Somebody broke that.
Tony Dorsett had that, right?
No, well, that's in a regular season game. This is Super Bowl trivia.
Oh.
Name a Raider who ran about 70 yards for a TD, and early on, that run did not look good.
Marcus Allen.
Yeah, do you remember what he did?
It was against the Redskins, wasn't it?
I don't know. Was it?
I think so.
Yeah, and he spun around and then went right down the middle. It was the longest.
Bring up things like that.
Wow,
George.
it was the longest run for a while, and then it got broken. I can't remember who, but I just remember it got broken by somebody. Who knows what?
I
Do
know
you
that
remember the name of the receiver who extended over, but came up about a yard short against a Tennessee Titan receiver
against the Rams.
Was that Kevin Dyson or something like that?
I want to say so. Yeah.
Yeah. God, man, if he gets over, then poor Rams
the
would have got shut out
on turf.
Yeah. You know what sucks? What's scary is if they called me and said somebody entered you. You ready for the 4 questions? I'd be sweating. Unless they were gimmies. Yeah. I mean, if they were to just to say like, how many of the Niners won? Okay, that's an easy one. But if they were to say like, what's the longest interception return? I don't know.
Which quarterback has the most Super Bowl losses? I don't even know if this is right, but I would have to
Fran
imagine
Tarkenton.
Is it?
He went 0-4.
Oh, he did?
And Jim Kelly went 0-4. If you were going to bag on Brady, he's only lost 2.
No, I was going to say maybe Elway.
Oh. But then he won 2. Yeah, he lost. He got hammered by the Niners.
Didn't he?
Huh?
Didn't he lose like 4?
He may have. No, because one of them was to Dallas when they were the big Orange Crush. Yeah, they lost to Dallas. So, I mean, there's been 51 of them. So think about all the questions that could have accumulated since then. Are you going to do any exotic bets?
I probably will the night of. I don't really plan them out. It's just whatever. I like to go with whatever everybody else is doing. I don't like betting against people. So if everybody goes, the national anthem's going over for sure, I'm in. There's always that guy that says, I know a guy who was at the sound check.
Right.
You know, it's one of the more low-key prop bets for Mayweather-McGregor. No touch of gloves. I think it originally opened at plus 120, and people just hammered it. And it ended up being like -2 or -300 by the time fight time happened.
And they didn't do it, right?
Oh, yeah, no, there's no way. But if you think about it.
The touch of gloves after the bell sounds or when the ref brings them together?
When the ref brings them together, yeah.
I would have thought. I mean, I don't know. I've seen 2 guys despise each other still touch the gloves. So I think it's just in that moment, you know. Like a Ronda would be one of those where that's got to be pretty solid, right? That she ain't touching gloves.
Yeah. I figure McGregor, too, with his
McGregor
with
may
his
just hit you hard on purpose, you know, because he's just playing that game, man, all the way to the end. And how about the fact that he's in your face, and he's marching around, he's talking smack, and then when Bruce Buffer's announcing the other guy, he's still doing stuff, the touch of gloves. And then he still comes out and he throws his hands down and he's talking, he's jabbing. Like, he's like literally like at all times entertaining, you know. And then he backs off and it becomes a fight and you just see him strategically waiting to pounce with that left hand or throw a spinning, you know, back kick or whatever. But when he's not, he's just entertaining. He's just using bravado and man, like he never takes any time. I mean, he literally pours everything he can into the camp itself, the promotion of the fight, and the fight itself. That's why when it's exhausted, I mean, that's why when he's exhausted at the post fight, you know, he's drinking his whiskey and saying whatever he's got to say, and you know.
It must be really exhausted because it's been 14 months and 2 weeks since we've seen him in an octagon last. So I would love to see this McGregor you speak of. That'd be awesome, man.
I don't think that not touching gloves is that intimidating. I think the reverse of like what Clubber Lang or even Ivan Drago did, I think that's worse.
You have to look up to him too, like, oh,
boom, one of those, or
your hands
the
don't
one where you
move?
just don't move. That would intimidate.
What did
me
Clubber
more.
Lang do?
His was kind of rough.
By the way, least intimidating line of the whole Rocky series when it's his rematch.
Go for it.
Go for it. And he does the turnaround walk, like
That's
it almost
the
like almost like spins, like I can almost see like an invisible boa flinging over his shoulder as he turns, like go for it. I was like, no, it's so emasculating for a young Dan Tom to watch my hero act in that manner. Subtle notes of the movie, folks. Subtle notes of the movie.
Danny, do we have an update on our guest?
I think he just started calling him.
Oh, okay.
He is there and ready.
All right, he's there. He's there, ready to go. Look at Luke Rockhold's picture there that I'm looking at. He's just like,
great.
"What's up, bitch?"
No,
he's got the belt over his
that's how
shoulder.
you read that?
Well, kind of like.
I was thinking something else.
What is he saying in that picture?
It's a room full of people, and he farted.
How do you like me now?
But people kind of know it was him, but he doesn't want to say it was him. But that's him.
That's a funny picture. Yeah, he's in scowl mode though. When there's like 2 weeks to go, he's in scowl mode. He ain't joking. He ain't laughing. Luke Rockhold joins us now, former UFC middleweight champ, fighting for the interim middleweight title in Perth, Australia. Buy that pay-per-view. The stadium sold out, so now it's up to you to just buy the pay-per-view. Support these guys. And, of course, Yoel Romero will be standing opposite side of him. The winner gets Robert Whittaker. What's up, Luke? How you doing?
I'm doing it. Doing what I got to do.
All right, my man. The opponent switch, what, like, was this like an automatic just yes, or are you one of those guys that needed to think about it or anything like that? I know it was disappointing to not be fighting for Undisputed, but take us through just that phone call when you received the bad news.
I got the text from my manager. It's basic, mid-camp text. Call me, it's urgent. There's something up and your mind races, and of course it was what it was. Whittaker's out, and you know what's next. This really is one of Yoel's the guy. Yoel's the guy to fight. He had a close fight with Whittaker, and we were 1-2. So what else is there?
Now, one thing I did catch when you talked to Mike Swick was you didn't really it wasn't going to bother you anyway, because if you fought Whittaker, Romero was next. This way, you're just kind of flip-flopping them. I like that approach. You're not making it a bigger deal than it is.
It's not. It is what it is, and that's the truth. Ain't no one's putting away Romero other than me and Whittaker, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put him away. I'm gonna show what's up, and then I'm gonna go take on Whittaker.
Another thing I wanted to clear up. You've been pretty. I know you got Volcaned in DC to death, but I'm not gonna go there. What I just wanted to know is, I know that part of the move to Florida was because Kane has been injured and DC, he's got other responsibilities, and so you didn't have as many training partners. But when DC was in camp, I wondered, I guess, why you hadn't come back. Is it just there's a surplus of training partners in Florida, or had you just by then established yourself, and you know what I mean?
Look, DC's my brother, but I can't sit around and wait for DC to come back from doing TV, and I can't wait for Khabib to come back from Russia.
Gotcha.
I have to get mine in. I have to do me. I have to be the best that I can be. People just need to shut up. It's like everyone is on the same page. It is what it is. I'm doing what I have to do. Everything is slowed down back home, and there's not the guys my size and guys to work with, and no one's around that much, and so I'm doing what I got to do. My coaches support me on both sides. My teammates support me on both sides, and I feel better than ever. And everyone just needs to fucking shut up and mind their own business.
Luke Rockhold, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He's fighting on February 10th, UFC 221. He's a headliner against Yoel Romero. Goes, what do you have for Luke Rockhold?
Luke, when there is that switch, who's first in the input as far as strategy? Do you sit down at the table and go, this is what I'm thinking, or do the coaches go first, and from there you react to what they say?
When the opponent switches in?
Yeah.
It falls on my shoulders, of course, and it's my decision. The coaches support me, and then we adjust. That's how it goes. You know, I didn't discuss this with my coaches. I said, let's fucking go.
When you look at, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I came back and I talked to my coaches, and we adjusted.
When you look at previous fights, is there a Luke Rockhold that you can point to where you go, on this night, that was the best Luke Rockhold, and if that dude shows up, he's unstoppable?
You know, I think you're more conscious in certain moments, and you fight well. You know, I've had a couple pretty good on-point performances, and I've had some I've straying away, and you know, there's complications with any fights. You go into a fight, and sometimes you're not healthy, and you do what you have to do. But I mean, yeah, I've been sharp a lot of fights. My first Bisping fight, I was very tuned in. My Philippou fight, I came back with a very focused, determined mindset, and the mindset's everything. And going in there, you know, I've had a lot of great performances. The Boach and just tuned in. Weidman, I was sick. I was injured. I didn't think I fought well. And of course, after that too. So, you know, I didn't fight my best last, but I feel great right now. I feel better than ever, and I expect to perform better than ever.
You're always laser focused when it comes to your matchups. So I can't feel like you can underprepare at all. But is there ever any instance between now and the fight where you catch your opponent, whether it's weigh in, stare down, whatever, where it even pulls another gear out of you?
It's always interesting how fighters carry themselves fight week, and as it gets closer, day by day, you know, whether that you can see a hint of doubt in their eyes and the way they carry themselves, or if you know it's going to be a fucking fight. And so I know Yoel believes in himself. I know he's almost overconfident at times. I think he doesn't really understand where, you know, the dangers I pose to him in this fight. I know what he is and what he's capable of, but I'm gonna give this guy more than he can handle. I'm gonna shut him down. I'm willing to go deeper than he'll ever go. I mean, some people look the part, some people act the part, you know, some people talk the part, but to be the part, to go there and to get into those moments, I've never been outdone. I'm willing to go deeper and darker than any of these motherfuckers. And Yoel can look it and he can act it, but I'll bring it out of him, and I'll push this thing to a different world that he's not ready for.
Damn, that's some serial killer talk right there, right? I'm
ordering the pay-per-view right now.
All right, Dan, Tom, go ahead, fire away.
Hey, Luke, I'm seeing in your training photos on Instagram, you're training with a great stable down there, a lot of Henry Hoof's guys. I see Rashad Evans and Kamaru Usman. Now tell me, were those guys in your camp beforehand, or were those guys maybe you leaned on more with the opponent changed to a wrestler?
These guys were there the whole time, and of course we just adjust. You know, it was some more offensive wrestling and maybe some more defensive wrestling. Who knows? You know, I don't know if Yoel thinks he can grapple with me. He'll be in for a surprise if he really wants to take it there. So whether he wants to strike and he thinks he's okay there, I'm gonna make him pay there, and I think he falls back to his instincts and he tries to wrestle. So I'm gonna make him pay for the wrestling. I'm gonna hit scrambles. I'm gonna be on top. Like, you know, I'm gonna get in positions where he's never felt, and so.
Well, speaking of grappling,
you gotta be ready. The guy's a fucking great wrestler. I understand who he is, and he can scramble, he can go, but his body has limitations, and so, you know, if I don't catch him early, I will pull it out of him late. So I gotta have great guys around me, and having Kamaru and Shad's always in and out, and Logan Storley is another great wrestler I've been working with, and so these guys are pushing me. I'm ready.
Luke, speaking of great grapplers, this obviously isn't your first rodeo. In fact, this is kind of a random question, but let's just jump back 6 years. You were set to face a guy in your 9th fight named Ronaldo Souza in just your 9th fight. and you went out there, and obviously you did well. I think that's when a lot of mainstream MMA fans caught on to you. But let me ask you this, Luke. There's a lot of frustration, whether it's stuff that goes on inside of the ring, the politics that is just out. You've seen a lot of it. I can tell. What advice would you give Luke Rockhold if you could go to your Luke Rockhold that was about to face Jacare Souza? Obviously, you won the fight, but just in general about your career, if you could go back 6 years and give yourself advice, what's one thing you would say, Luke?
To that Luke at that time, I mean, I was as good as I could possibly be at that time. Everyone, even my coaches kind of questioned the move, and I reaffirmed to them that I'm gonna fucking beat this guy, and I never doubted myself. And I went in there, and I came at him like I knew I had to. I wasn't equipped with what I have now, not nearly, and I wasn't even healthy. But I got the job done. So I mean, I got nothing. I got nothing to go back and rewrite at this time.
Luke, I know we got to finish up, but I just thought of something as Dan was asking you that question. Looking back and covering your career for so long, a lot of people have doubted you in a lot of big fights. Is that do you feel the same way, whether it be media, fans? You've proved them wrong, going back to the Jacare fight, and yet they doubted again before Machida and then before Weidman. It's happened a lot.
Hey, like I said, some people look the part, and people just tie into that bullshit. Yoel looks scary, he acts scary, he does this, he does that, but I do everything better than Yoel. The only thing he's got some wrestling, but that wrestling is just going to get him in trouble. He's got some athleticism. He's a freak athletic, but I'm a technical freak. I'm gonna shut him down everywhere. People overlook the way I look and maybe the way I act or whatever the fuck is they see. But guess what? Like I said, I will go deeper. I will go darker than any of these motherfuckers. Mark my words, I've done it. I'll never be outdone. And I'm a fighter. And I've obviously been here, and I've proven that over and over and over, and I'm going to go prove it again.
Can't wait, Luke. Thanks for the time. Thanks for squeezing us in. Really, we appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of your camp. Safe travels to Australia, and we can't wait to tune in on February 10th for that interim title, you versus Yoel Romero.
See you there.
See you. There he is, folks. Luke Rockhold. Follow him on Twitter, @Luke Rockhold. He's ready.
Do you think just flames appeared and then Luke disappeared?
What do you
as soon
mean?
as they hung up the phone? That dude's intense.
Yeah, he really, really nice guy. I'll share a story with you guys. During Thanksgiving, we actually exchanged a couple texts. He couldn't have had a nicer Happy Holidays look to him, and what he said, because we have a really good friend of the family. We consider her family. Her name's Grace, and she's probably the biggest Luke Rockhold fan there is. Like, she fans herself if his name's brought up. You know what I mean? And when she saw him again, red face and just really wanted to take a picture with him and everything. And so during that time, his name came up, and so I thought I'd reach out to him. He couldn't have had. It was like his Wikipedia face, just a friendly smile, and he said something to Grace and to myself, and to our family, But then all of a sudden, we're now a couple weeks away from this fight, and I wouldn't let Grace near Luke. like he, of course I'm joking, but he really just has kind of like he's like an assassin right now. There's nothing stopping him. You probably, even if you told him the fight's off, I'm not trying to jinx anything, you probably couldn't stop him from jumping on a flight and going to Perth and just fighting another middleweight. Like, he will make the UFC find another quality middleweight and do something. He's just kind of like programmed, and a lot of it is that mental side. Now, before he fought Weidman, he had a really serious injury in addition to staph, and still went out there and performed. I mean, that's pretty damn admirable. You know what I mean? A lot of people pull out due to staph. Now, that said, so did Weidman. Both of those guys were just carded in, and they went out there and they fought. But great win for Luke Rockhold, and I've never doubted his mental capacity, his heart. Another story too, I think this one's been told, at AKA in San Jose, he actually what's his name, Daniel Cormier when he first started, was really, really an alpha. Like, he actually took control of the team and became a coach, one of the coaches and one of the captains early on. John Fitch was their captain. And Luke, when he was first starting, I think he was getting that vibe. And that's why he answered that question the way he did. He was getting that vibe from the gym of kind of like surfer boy here, you know, pretty boy here or whatever. And so I think he's had to prove this over and over for the last 10 years. And so what he did was he actually picked the fight with Cormier. When Cormier was probably kind of acting like a Debo or something. Who else wants some from DC? You know, like that type of. He said, "I do. You know, let's go," and kind of almost like pushed him. And so, of course, you know how DC gets when he gets really, really aggressive and violent and mad. But he earned DC's respect that day. They went at it. They basically had a street fight, and obviously DC definitely got his licks in, but so did Luke. And I think that's what put him over, you know, in that gym. And they've talked about it before. They just haven't talked about it much. But I think that's cool. Doubt for like the last 10 years. You know, what do I got to do here? I've been a world champion. But, you know, he just has those side gigs like dating Demi Lovato, being a professional model, things like that, where I think people go, he's soft. In the end, a true athlete like an Olympian like Romero will find a way, you know. Or someone else will knock him out, or someone will out-tough him. And so, therefore, that's why I think he has that chip on his shoulder. We got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Shout out to myself for lining that one up. We'll be right back.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Alrighty, there you have it, folks. Luke Rockhold, already programmed for destruction versus Yo Romero. Early prediction there, guys?
Shit, after that interview, Luke Rockhold all day. Like steak peppercorn. Rockhold all day, baby.
How about you, Dan Tom? What do you like?
I will say I was going with Whitaker in the original matchup, but in this matchup, the early lean has to be Rockhold after that interview.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
What if we hadn't interviewed him? Are you guys telling me you would be taking Romero?
Man, you know what? Romero's one of those guys that when I bet on him, it doesn't look too good, and when I bet against him, I think I would still go Luke.
I think Luke has more ways to win.
The only thing that scares me is early on, in his process of settling in, he seems to be susceptible to a big punch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and forever, because Bisping knocked him out, he'll get tagged as, he'll be questioned about his chin. Just like GSP. Sarah knocked him out, and people would always go, GSP in his chin. And then you look at his record and go, holy shit, he fought for like 10 years. I think he only had the one knockout. How bad could the chin be? It's just that when you hit him, he might go down. You know, that could be a testament to a good chin. Others may have been knocked out. Who knows? I think Luke's going to get that. That, coupled with what I said earlier, I think that's why he has that chip on his shoulder. But that said, man, there's quite a size disparity here. Reach disparity. And Romero, I mean, I guess he did catch Weidman as Weidman was coming in. I don't know. Luke's more like upright. You know what I mean? He uses his space a little bit more. And he also has the benefit of these vicious knees that Romero has thrown at. So Luke Rockhold from 5 years ago may have been susceptible to something like that. Whereas now I think it'll be a little bit different. And he is pretty tough over 5 rounds. I got Rockhold.
When's Romero get old? That's the question.
That's a
right?
good question.
What
Right.
fight? It's gonna happen,
right?
I mean, he is an older fighter, but when it doesn't translate really in his
game. He is an athletic phenom, goes. But either way, you can definitely say that he will tire sooner. He'll be able to collect himself and have a second and third win, but it'll just take more time to do that. He's also got more mileage on him, more wear and tear from camps, from the violence that's been thrown his way. So it could happen pretty soon.
Southpaw versus Southpaw matchup, too, always makes it interesting.
Yep. When a Southpaw enters a gym and they have to face another Southpaw, it's pretty much as rare as a righty who has the problems with a Southpaw. Southpaws give other Southpaws problems as well.
Yep.
All right. We're done for today. It was a fun show. We had 2 guests that we hadn't planned on, or at least we hadn't confirmed with Luke. We got him. We got Joe Soto. We talked to Nadine McIntyre from Punch Gunk. Learned a little bit more about that product. Pretty cool. Left us some product here. Dan, you want some?
No, I'm okay.
You're good?
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I will take some. I'll probably be needing some in the near future. Not now, though.
Not now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. We got one more show this week. And we're going to run up and do the parlay. It's Feely, Brunson, and Coke. And tomorrow we'll tell you about the parlays where we mix in some favorites with some underdogs. We'll kind of that's more of a group parlay. We'll do more individual parlays tomorrow. For Danny and Dan and the Goes, I'm George. Have a nice day. Go out there and be champions.